Hello, everybody. How many of y'all like to avoid the crippling effects of arthritis? Instead of aging like this, like you see majority of your friends, they're aging and their body starts to go, head starts to go forward. Or rather, you just age and you age gracefully, straight up, where you can take a full breath and hold your body up and your balance is right. Well, you might want to listen to what I got to say today. So I start out, there's this story that I like to share. There was this house, and there's this cat and this mouse, and they always playing this game of I'm gonna get you, because the cat is always hungry, so he's chasing that mouse. And what happens is that mouse ran in a hole one day, and the cat ran behind him. But the mouse didn't know that the cat had went to a seminar the weekend before. And so what he did is he started barking. Roof, roof. So the mouse thought the cat was gone. And then he ran out, and then the cat swallowed him up and ate him. So the thing of what I'm saying today, and the story I'm sharing with you today, is that in order to survive in this world, you got to learn a new skill. What you're doing is not going to work anymore. You can't do what you were doing 20 years ago, because healthcare, the world is changing. Healthcare is changing. So therefore, you have to change. So one of the things that we're going to go over today in the next like 10 minutes, I want to share with you just key principles, 3 key principles that are going to definitely help change your life. Number one, this has got nothing to do with health. This is what's in between your ears. What's your mindset like? A lot of times I go and I talk to seniors and I talk to people and I'll ask them questions. I'll say, what do you want? What's the health goals? And what they'll say is they say, I want to lose weight. I want to be able to do a 5K. I want to be able to do this. And then you'll see them again and they'll say, you know what? I don't want that anymore. I'm pretty okay what it is. And so what I'm listening to saying is what they're not really saying. And what they're not saying is, I've given up on that. I don't think it's possible for me. So one of the things that I do is I call myself the hope dealer. I actually help to encourage people that you can still push on. As long as you can get up the next day, you can continue to do something else. So the first thing that we got to change in order for you to be healthy is your mindset. The one thing that people do is they go around and they're looking outside for all this stuff and they don't look within. Now, I'm a firm believer that God gave you everything that you need for your body to heal and repair. And if you don't pay attention to it, you're going to miss the whole point. So that's why mindset is number one. You got to address that mind. What's your thinking like? If you hang around a bunch of negative people and they don't move, you're not going to move either. So you got to get up. So the people that actually came here, I applaud you for making the effort to come here to park and walk down these blocks and walk down here to actually sit here to listen to all the information that you can get. Now, the second principle of that is that number one, we got to learn how to reduce stress. How many of y'all know what stress is? Are you stressed right now? Some people are, right? With different things. I was a little stressed, worried about parking when I came in here. But one of the things is stress is one of the biggest indicators that actually cause the most diseases in our body. And one of the things it is that I see with a lot of people that suffer from cancer, all these other diseases, is number one is it doesn't even have to be physical stress. It can be emotional stress. So the lack of forgiveness and stuff like that. So whatever you got that you're holding on from the past, you got to let it go. Number one thing, if you don't let it go, that harnesses in the inside and that attacks your body. And there's no way you can be 100% healthy. I gave an example. I used to go to this nursing home on Tuesdays and Thursdays, and there was a brother and sister up in the same nursing home that weren't talking. The brother was dementia, so he was just present time conscious, always happy, didn't know what was going on. But the sister was so bitter that she was in a wheelchair. There's no way that she could be healthy. So one day I asked her, why do you come see me if you're not going to let go of whatever's holding you back? And a lot of times too, this is a thing that we can do, people. You can get knee replacements, hip replacements, back fusions, whatever you want. If you don't address the stress in your life, there's no way you're going to heal. You're not going to heal. And so what happens is some people get all these things and they're not happy with the results. And that's because of the fact that they're still harnessing and holding on to something. And so that's something that I want you to address right there. So number one, we said mindset. And number two, we got to reduce stress. Now I'm gonna stay on stress a little bit longer because stress is so important. Now you got 3 different types of stress. Everybody knows number one type, that's like car accidents, slips and falls. I was talking to a lady today just a few minutes ago that fell right outside, walking outside a facility, and I saw her, she's here today, so that's good. But the thing about it, the most common stress is the mental and emotional stress. That's what can raise your blood pressure. You see, we have a nervous system that's divided into 2 systems. We got a sympathetic nervous system and we got a parasympathetic nervous system. The sympathetic nervous system goes with fight or flight. That's like if a dog comes out and chases you. I was out running this morning and I run up on a fence and a dog just jumped out at me and my blood pressure went up to probably 300 over 200. But the problem is if it stays there. Now, the second part of that nervous system is what we call parasympathetic. Parasympathetic nervous system is when you go to rest and digest and repair. The problem is people are living in a sympathetic dominant state. Therefore, they're not relaxing. You can lay down 8 hours, sleep 12, whatever. But if you don't learn to let your body relax, it's not going to repair. And that's going to slow down your healing process as well. So one of the things one of the things you can do with that is meditate. Learn how to pray more often. Forgiveness. Now, I might sound like a preacher a little bit, but a lot of this stuff is spiritual. It is. It's to the point where we got to understand that the mindset, reducing the stress, getting more connected with things instead of disconnected with things, we're going to be a lot healthier. And that's what's happening with this new generation with cell phones and technology, that people don't even know how to have conversations anymore. You know, people are in the next room over and they send a text, right? You know, it's different things like that. So we got to learn how to be connected as humans. There's something that brings on healing when we're connected. That's why I like doing Walk with the Doc, because it brings people together so we can discuss things. Everybody now has access to internet and computers and all these different things, but there's nothing like the human touch. There's nothing like a hug. There's nothing like reaching out and touching somebody. There's healing in that. It's called laying of hands. That's one of the first ways that they heal people back in the day. And that's one of the things that I do as a chiropractor. Now, we got those three things. You got mindset, reducing stress. The last one I want to talk about is having a stress-free nervous system. You got to take stress off the nervous system. The way that your body works is the brain controls everything. How many of y'all believe that there's something that the brain don't control? It controls every single thing in your body. The brain is like, it sends signals down the spine. Your spine is like a river. Easiest way I can put it. And it constantly sends messages down. And those messages go to every single organ and cell in your body. It's totally dependent on the energy to keep you alive and healthy. It's totally. There's nothing else, right? So what happens is we do things in life that cause the vertebrae to shift. Some stuff's all of a sudden, like car accidents, slips and falls, all those different things that we all experience. But there's also things that happen over the course of time, like arthritis. Arthritis and degeneration. When you lose those disc spacing and when those vertebrae are unstable and they start putting pressure on those nerves, that's how people start getting numbness and tingling in the hands, all the way down into the feet, all the way with headaches and blood pressure issues, because of the arthritis is putting pressure on those nerves and it's decreasing the signals. So the messages aren't getting there. So whatever those nerves supply, they get weak, they degenerate, and they eventually cause disease. The problem is a lot of people run around chasing diseases instead of looking at the cause of what's going on with the problem. That's why I named the book Overlooked. We can't overlook that anymore. Do you know that people with the lowest life expectancy in the world are the people right in front of me? African American males and African American females. The lowest life expectancy. Some of y'all are past that already, but if you want to continue to live like God designed your body and heal, you got to take that pressure off the body. You got to reduce that stress. You got to provide that core. And so what I do is I work with people and keeping them upright so that that brain can communicate with that. Quick test I want everybody to do just to show you what dysfunction is like. And so when you see your friends sitting there with their head out, everybody stick their head out like this. Stick your head out like that, like you were sitting before, right? And I want you to try to take a deep breath. Try to take a deep breath with your head out. You can't. You get about 60% less oxygen doing that. Now I want you to sit up straight. Like you just listen to what I'm saying. Like the brain is really connected and it's controlling everything. Now take a deep breath. Then you see how much more air you got in your body so your body can use that to heal and do all the other things you can. That's just one simple test. And so one of the things that I want to end with to stay right here is that number one thing that there's always, number one, something chasing you. Now, as I get ready to go back to Africa, and I'm here at the African Fest today, one of the things that I love to do is go on a safari. And when you actually get to see a kill where you actually see it from a distance and they zoom in and you can see that lion chasing that gazelle. What happens is I don't want anybody in here to be that gazelle. So you got to get to running. You got to run like your life depends on it. You got to run with a gazelle-like intensity. That means that it's not going to come to you. You got to get up and move. The human body was designed to move. If you're in a bad mood, get up and walk down to the corner and come back and you'll be in a better mood. If you're in a bad mood, walk that way. But you got to move. That's the thing about it when I see with my seniors, and that's one of the things where I do Walk with the Doc. Well, if you come to Walk with the Doc at the Croc Center, one of the things that I encourage people to do is that we sit and we do like a 10-minute talk. And then in order to talk to us, you got to walk with us. But what happens is most of the time the crowd starts to decrease because people don't want to walk. They don't want to walk. And so we got to end up moving more. So if you want to find out more information about what I'm talking about overlook, about taking your health to the next level, come and see me. I'll be right over here for a while at this table, and I'll be happy to answer any questions that you have. I want to open up. If they give me a chance to take a few questions, I'll be happy to do that. Anybody got any questions? No? Yes, ma'am. What is what? The IT band. IT band is it's a thick sheet of muscle on the side of your leg, and it tightens up. Arthritis can cause it to tighten up, and then that can just cause pain. It gets inflamed. You have to stretch it. You have to loosen it up. You have to retrain it. Walking and stretching. There's 3 ways that everybody should exercise and is watching me right now. And a lot of times we miss one. Number one way that we should exercise, number one, everybody needs to do some kind of weight training, especially women. As you get older, your bones lose that strength. And so you start developing stuff like osteoporosis, osteopenia. The bones get weak. And so that means that that's not as strong enough. So if you were to fall, you increase the chances of actually breaking a hip. If a woman breaks a hip at a certain age, it's pretty bad. And you've seen that with certain people. The second way you need to do it is you need to do cardio. You got to get your heart rate up. You got to sweat a little bit. Not sweating because it's hot and you sitting down. You got to get up and move and sweat. And the third way that we overlook all the time is you got to stretch. The older you are, the more you have to stretch. You're like these vintage cars. You just can't get in a vintage car and drive it all the way to South Carolina. You got to warm the engine up. And you got to warm it up a lot. And every time you stop, you got to stretch and you got to keep the engine going. Because if it cools down, you're going to tighten up. And that's what happens with a lot of stuff. Now, one story I want to tell you too, when I talk about mindset that I left out. I was just at an event speaking the other day, and this lady came in with a cane. She could not hardly walk. If you saw this lady walk in with this cane, and they were serving food, so she was putting the cane down and she was walking. And so what happened was they were passing out food, so she got a plate of food. She picked the cane up, and she didn't even touch the ground. She walked. But what happened was her mindset is she was not going to drop that plate of food. And I was sitting there thinking that if we had that same mindset with our health, you won't drop the food. If you got that mindset that I'm not going to fall because I'm going to be present, you won't. But a lot of times you pick up that cane, it's going to be hard to put it down. And I encourage you not to do that. That's one of the things you got to do. But any more questions, I'll take them over here. Yes, sir. Sciatica? It depends on what's causing it. You got a couple of different things that cause sciatica. It could be arthritis at certain ages. It could also be a tight muscle called a piriformis muscle that's about the size of 2 of my fingers. And that tightens up. That tightens up because your posture's off. As soon as you start doing this, that muscle's going to tighten up back here. And it is really a pain in the butt. And so the tighter it is, the more you're going to feel it down the leg. So it's a good question. You got to loosen that muscle up. Exercise. The 3 ways that I just said. Exercise, stretching is number 1 key in that thing. And then also you got to drink lots of water. That's the most important. Yes, ma'am.
What about gout?
Gouty arthritis. That means that you eating too much meat. And a lot of times it's the purines cause of certain things, and that can actually attack the weaker joint. Usually the toe, the knee, the elbow. Some people get it in other places. But gouty arthritis is too many purines in the body, or uric acid. And the kidneys are not filtering it out. And so it starts to attack that joint and eat it up. So that's all diet related. But it can cause a lot of pain if you experienced it. Hey, Rosalind. But thank you all. I'll be right over here if you got any more questions. Thank you.